Coming up on Look Today, well, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik introduces the bipartisan Flexible Pell Grant for 21st Century Students Act. I've got details. And voters in Bolton Landing, they said no to the $9 million project. More on that coming up. And the city of Saratoga Springs plays a big part in the Pitney Meadows Community Farm Project. I've got those details. It's all ahead on Look Today. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jay Hood Jackson, and this is Look Today. In tonight's program, I sit down with John Strout. He's the town supervisor for Queensbury. He's here to talk about the airport expansion project and more in part two of my interview with him. I also sit down with Mary Liz Stewart. Now, she's a co-founder and executive director for Underground Railroad History Project. Now, she's here to talk about the history of the railroad and its significance. Really good interview. Plus, we've got your weather for the Tri-North counties, but first, these headline stories. Well, in our lead story, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik introduced the Flexible Pell Grant for 21st Century Students Act today. Now, the legislation will allow students to apply for Pell Grants all year round and will also increase the possible amount awarded to students by 50%. Well, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik spoke on the House floor today.
When I speak with North Country students and teachers in my district, I hear about the positive impacts of Pell Grants. In my district, an average of 52% of students attending SUNY institutions are offered Pell Grants.
Now, Christine Duffy, the president of SUNY Adirondack, spoke about this also with Michael Lenz in the upcoming edition of Beyond the Headlines. All right, in other news, well, this proposed $9 million project for the Bolton Landing School was rejected by the voters. Now, if approved, that project would have allocated funds to construct an addition to the school. It was going to create a new auditorium and therefore space for a STEAM initiative. Well, the vote was 273 in opposition to 240 in favor, fairly close. The proposed wing was dubbed CAMP, which stands for Community, Arts, Music, and Performance Space. Now, those who are opposed to the project made the point that $9 million is too much to spend on approximately 120 students. Now, some were also concerned that the future of the school is unclear, as it is common for smaller school districts to merge with larger ones. Well, we spoke to Michael Graney. He's the superintendent of the Bolton Landing School District.
I think the success of our kids in the vibrant school that we have, there's no need for us to merge. Even if whether this project passes or not, there's a lot of pride in this building from students, staff, and community. The community supports this school, and I see us maintaining our independence for a very long time.
Wow. All right, switching from news to weather. Well, today saw high winds. You could say everything was blowing around. Temperatures were in the 30s. Let's see how the rest of the week is shaping up. For a more detailed look at our weather, let's head to the Glens Falls Weather Center for a look at your first forecast.
Thank you, Jesse. As we take a look at our first look forecast, it's going to be getting cold over the next few days. We're seeing one front dragging down the south. It's going to be developing some snowfall on this tonight. Could see a little bit of that trying its best to push towards us. High pressure is also our major factor down to our south, and that will continue to hold that frontal boundary to track just down to our south across the Maryland-Pennsylvania border. We'll see some clouds, temperatures diving back down to about 18 in Boston, 14 in Burlington, 19 in Buffalo. And we're just going to go down from here. Temperatures likely touching the 0-degree mark over the next couple mornings. So for tonight, still mostly cloudy skies. Could see some snowfall developing down to our south, but should pass us by. Low of 22 degrees overnight, 32 tomorrow. Could see some light flurries and some breezier conditions. Winds maybe gusting between 10 to 20 miles per hour. That'll keep our wind chills actually cooling as the day progresses, as those winds ramp up through the afternoon. So as I mentioned, winds will pick back up. We're going to be seeing temperatures out the door tomorrow morning about 26 to 29. Thankfully, no snowfall is expected, but mostly cloudy skies will be, and it'll feel like it's getting progressively colder throughout the daytime hours. We'll see a chance of showers, snow showers Friday, about 30% chance with a high of 32, as I mentioned. From there, big time shift, 8 degrees, the morning low on Saturday. Saturday's high only hitting 19. We're going to see limited sunshine as we head throughout the daytime. Over the next couple of days, we're going to see highs peaking back in the 20s, but morning lows 1 degree for Sunday morning. Monday morning 0. We'll be back to next Tuesday before we start to see any more better chances of snowfall and temperatures pushing back up towards the freezing mark. Well, that's it for now. Now let's get back to you, Jesse.
Thanks, Brad. Well, according to him, winter is not over. Back to the news. Well, recently the Pitney Meadows Community Farm was purchased by a nonprofit organization of the same name. Now, as we told you earlier this week, this farm will be the first community collaborative farm in Saratoga Springs and will encourage everyone to be part of it. Now, the farm was purchased for $2 million, and the city of Saratoga Springs will oversee its planned unit development. Well, we spoke to Mayor Joanne Yepsen about the next steps in this process.
I really am proud that the City Council not only approved the funding, but we approved the planned unit development concept. So now what's going to happen is it will go back to the City Council for a secret review, but the site plan will go to the Planning Board. And I'm looking forward to having the Planning Board input and moving forward to make this a reality.
What a cool project. All right, up next, I sit down with John Strow. Now, he's a town supervisor of Queensbury. He's here to talk about the airport expansion and more in part 2 of my interview with him. Plus, I also sit down with Mary Liz Stewart. Now, she's a co-founder and executive director for Underground Railroad History Project. And she's here to talk about the history of the railroad, its significance then, and its significance now. But first, if you see news happening, you want to share a story idea, how about join us for an interview? Then give us a call on the hotline. The number is 798-8000. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Look Today. I've got a couple of lookouts for tonight. I just want to give you an update. Last week, our interview with the junior committee at SPAC regarding the winter ball this past weekend had to be canceled due to that power outage that we had in Saratoga last week. But I did get a report today that the thing was sold out, right to the wall, max over 500 people, big success, and that, of course, the proceeds go to classical programming and arts education. Just a really terrific thing. Now, the junior committee also has a function planned for the summer, so we'll catch up to all that. Also, Elizabeth Sobel was scheduled, the president of SPAC, was scheduled to be on today for an interview. There was a scheduling conflict, so we rescheduled that for next week. And then just a couple of things to highlight. When I'm in the field, I get my coffee every morning at the Cumberland Farms at Exit 18, Glens Falls, and I get to know the people in there and whatever, so I'm bantering back and forth with this guy this morning on getting our wives coffee or something like that, and he commented on this, and we generally don't like to use first names, but Mr. Hall, you know exactly who you are, and nice to meet you this morning. And then at the cash register, another viewer stopped and said, I really liked the interview with John Strow, the part 1. So just keep watching. We really appreciate it. Last but not least, tonight is Sold. That's our call-in auction program. Great estate jewelry and coins. And just a reminder of what you might be able to find on Sold. Last week, a ring that was valued at over $4,000 sold for under $500. So you might want to check Sold out. And tomorrow, I don't know what's up for tomorrow, but we'll tell you about that tomorrow. So good night, everybody.